January. Sam. My dad was overseas. It was during vacation. I remember. We got the call around New Year's Day. Kind of put a damper on the celebration. He'd been in the Air Force for years, and we always knew he'd be called away any time. But I guess we just hoped it wouldn't happen. Me and my brothers and my mom were pretty upset. But he was a soldier, right? You do what you're ordered to do. You know, when you sign up, you're going to defend your country one way or another. I understood. I don't really want to talk about it. Before he went away, my dad gave me his chessboard and some books about chess. He told me to practice up, so when he came home, I would be able to give him a good game. Judy. I was very upset when Snick's dad was sent to the Middle East. We're not best friends or anything, but even so, Snick was all gung ho G.I. Joe about it. He said, "My dad's gonna go shoot guys," in kind of silly macho talk. Now, I was against war, and I didn't want to see the dad of someone I knew get hurt. I didn't discuss it with Snick very much. I didn't want him telling me that people who were against the war were traitors and all that. But I'm sure he was thinking about his dad all the time. How could you not? Brenton. I've always thought that instead of fighting wars, the leaders of the two sides should just play a game of chess against each other. Whoever wins the game wins the war. Nobody has to die. War is not the answer. Chess is the answer. Kelsey. When I heard that Snick's dad had to go to the Middle East, I just started crying. I couldn't stop. It was like something opened inside me. Everybody gathered around me and asked me what was wrong. That was the first time I'd ever told anybody at my school that my dad had died. I didn't want Snick's dad to die too. We probably have Air Force bases in Hawaii and South California and cool places like that all over the world. But he had to get sent to the one place where there was a war going on. Talk about bad luck. Miss Rasmussen. When Sam's father was sent overseas, I noticed a change came over him. He didn't crack many jokes anymore. He stopped making fun of people. He was more businesslike, grim even. I tried to talk to him about it, but he obviously didn't want to. I wanted to comfort him. Sometimes you just can't help. Judy. By January, we were using Belch every day. I had stopped doing my homework on my own entirely. I never even thought about doing it that way anymore. It was so much easier just using Belch. My mom used to smoke cigarettes when she was younger. I asked her how she started. She said that she tried a cigarette one day just for the fun of it when she was out with some friends who smoked. She said she didn't like it very much, but a few days later she was with the same people and she got another one. She just wanted to fit in, you know. Little by little, she started smoking cigarettes here and there, and soon she started thinking about having cigarettes when she wasn't smoking one. Before she knew it, she was smoking a pack of cigarettes every day. She was addicted to them. I think I'm becoming addicted to Belch almost the same way. I asked my mom how she quit smoking, and she said it was very hard. She tried a whole bunch of times, but she just couldn't do it. Finally, she quit when she was pregnant with me. She didn't want me to be harmed by the tobacco in her body. That is what it took for her to stop. Ronnie. Every day, Snickwood, Kelsey, Judy, Brenton, they would leave the school together. Little foursome. They just couldn't be a tight group, and I couldn't resist. I had to find out what was going on. So I followed them, hiding behind trees and bushes and stuff so they wouldn't see me. They went over Brenton's house. I hid behind a car parked across the street. A few minutes after they went inside, I saw some movement in one of the windows on the second floor. It was probably Brenton's bedroom. His mother bought them something on a tray. Then she left and they closed the door. It looked like Brenton was fussing with his computer. I couldn't tell exactly what he was doing. The others were standing around, talking and laughing. They stayed maybe an hour and then left. That was it. Sam. My dad sent me an email saying, "How about a game of chess?" I asked him, "How can we play chess when I'm in Arizona and he's in the middle of some desert?" He says, We should each set up a chessboard and we can tell the other our moves by email. He said a lot of the soldiers are doing it. Then he gave me the address of a website that makes it easy. I went to the website, but it looked complicated. They used a code to identify the pieces and their positions on the board. It's like this: P equals pawn, R equals rook, N for knight, B for bishop, K for queen, and K for king. You use the capital letters for the white pieces and the lowercase letters for the black pieces. When you're ready to make a move, you name the piece of the square that you're moving to. So if white types in F3, that means he's moving his knight to the third row in the sixth column. I email Dad and says, it sounds pretty complicated to me. He says, I'm a big wimp and afraid to play him because I know I'd lose. So this is what I emailed him back. PE4. Judy. Jessica Martin used to be my best friend in the whole world. We've known each other since we were in kindergarten. When we were in the same class at school last year, we would come home every day and do our homework together. Sometimes other girls in the class would join us too. Jessica asked me to meet her in the bathroom after lunch. She was all serious, like she had something very important and personal to get off her chest. She said she was upset because we hadn't seen each other in a long time, and I never called her anymore. I said it was nothing. We were in different classes now, and I was just busy. That's all. I couldn't tell her about Belch, of course. Jessica asked me if Kelsey was my new best friend because she saw me riding bikes home from school with her. Jessica said that Kelsey is like trailer trash and she's got pink hair and everything. I said, don't be ridiculous. I could never be friends with Kelsey. It wasn't a nice thing to say, but I didn't know what else to say to Jessica. I really didn't feel good about the whole thing. I didn't know what to do. I'm just not good in situations like that. Sam. So this jerk, Ronnie, comes up to me in the lunchroom one day and asks why I'm hanging out with Brenton. I tell him, I'm not hanging out with Brenton. And he says, oh yeah? How can you leave school with him every day? I say, it's none of his business who I leave school with, and he better leave me alone and stop watching me or I'll bust his head open. That shut him up. Kelsey. My friend Heather in the other class asked me if I wanted to come over after school and listen to a cool new CD she burned by some new band. I told her I just couldn't, but I didn't tell her I was going over to Brenton's house with Judy and Snick. She looked kind of hurt and said, what's up? How come I see you with that jerk Judy all the time now? Are you like friends? Are you turning goody-goody? She said Judy was stuck up and snotty and all that. I said, I know. I told her I wasn't friends with Judy or anything. I couldn't tell Heather about Belch. She tells everybody about everything. I guess it's better for Heather to tell everybody that I'm friends with Judy than to have her tell everybody about Belch. Judy. I felt bad about Jessica, so I called her up and asked her if she wanted to do something. She said she couldn't because she had a ton of homework to do. My homework was done hours before. Then she started asking all these questions, like, how come you aren't working on your homework? Or how did you finish so fast? I kind of freaked out. What was I supposed to say? That a machine did my homework for me? I told Jessica that I did some of my homework at school, but I'm not sure if she believed me. I was never very good at lying. Some people can just look in you in the eye and tell you a total lie, and you'd never know it. But when I tell a lie, I get nervous and I start sweating and stuttering, and I can't look the person in the face. I'm terrible at it. I'd rather just tell the truth to tell you the truth, but sometimes you can't. Kelsey. Heather said she thought it over and she couldn't be friends with me anymore. And if I was going to hang around with a stuck-up jerk like Judy. So I told her, well, I don't want to be friends with anybody who insists on telling me who I was allowed to hang out with. She got all mad, and so did I. I guess me and Heather aren't friends anymore. Judy. I was walking to the bike rack with Snick and Kelsey when I saw Jessica and some of the other girls leaving school together. I guess they were going to go do their homework together. Jessica kind of glanced at me. She didn't invite me to join them. She didn't say anything. Neither did I. After that, we weren't friends anymore. Miss Rasmussen. When Sam told me he was going to play a game of chess with his father by email, I was just thrilled. Before that, I didn't see that he had any real hobbies or interests. Finally, he'd found a positive interest that would stimulate his mind, and every child needs that. For some kids, it's sports or playing musical instruments or reading. For me, it was nature. For Sam, it was chess. I also thought playing chess was a great way for him to keep in touch with his father, who was so far away. It helped get Sam out of his funk for a while, too. I was careful not to tell Sam how pleased I was with the chess, though. Sam is one of those students who thinks that if a grown up approves of something they do, then it must not be very cool and maybe he should stop doing it. I did not want that to happen. You have to be very careful with the way you treat each child. Judy. My dad has this thing where we have to sit around the dinner table and talk about series of subjects every night. Like, he'll bring up the subject of gun control, or athletics, taking steroids, or athletes taking steroids, or the whole family has to give our opinion. One night, we were talking about knowing right from wrong. Dad said that sometimes the difference between right and wrong is obvious. Like when you add two numbers together, there's a right answer and a wrong answer. Or robbing a bank or killing somebody is definitely wrong. But in some situations, you can't tell the difference between right and wrong so easily. Like, driving faster than the speed limit is wrong, but if you're rushing to the hospital so that a baby can be born, then speeding can be okay. Or hitting somebody with a baseball bat is wrong, but if that person was attacking your mom, then it's okay. I didn't feel well. I felt physically ill. I had to excuse myself from the table. Kelsey. Feeling guilty about what we did? Well, yeah, I guess a little. But hey, we didn't hurt anybody. There were a lot of horrible people in this world who get away with lots of stuff. What we did wasn't so bad. There are degrees of wrongness, you know. If you get all worked up over the little wrongs, you won't appreciate how wrong the big wrongs are. Police Chief Rebecca Fish. I first became aware of this so called homework machine back in January. Got an anonymous tip from somebody who called the hotline and said a kid at Grand Canyon School developed a machine that did homework automatically. Then they hung up. It sounded like a kid. Traced the call to a payphone, figured it was a crank. I mean, kids do this kind of stuff all the time. Sounded like a load of bull, if you'll excuse my French. It's standard procedure to keep a record of all calls, so I did, of course. Just in case. I know a guy in Washington who looks into this kind of stuff. Told him what I knew, which wasn't much. He said maybe he would check it out if he had time. Ronnie. Hey, it wasn't me. I swear. It wasn't me who told the cops about the machine. I'll swear it on a stack of Bibles if you want me to. I'll swear it on my mother. I never called the police.